whispers of fear. The war room of the Galactic Council was filled with heavy silence. Holographic maps glowed across the table, showing red lines where human soldiers had pushed deep into alien space. Generals of many species stood together, their voices low, their faces pale. They had fought wars before. They had seen destruction before. But nothing compared to this. It was not humanity's ships that frightened them. It was not even humanity's weapons. It was their soldiers. One reptilian. Commander tapped his claws nervously against the table. "I do not understand," he hissed. "We sent 3 divisions against them, armored units, heavy artillery. Yet the humans did not break. They advanced. They kept coming, even when half their numbers were gone." A feathered admiral spoke, next her wings twitching with unease. "I saw the reports. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. Even when wounded, they crawl forward with knives in their hands. They are not soldiers. They are beasts." The room grew colder. Every word weighed heavily on them. Then a young officer, scales glittering under the pale light, leaned forward. His voice was sharp, but trembling. "Counselors, what terrifies me most is this. These were not their best. These were not the ones they call special forces. These were regulars." A deep murmur rolled across the chamber. Faces shifted with horror. Some laughed nervously, trying to dismiss it. But the truth settled like stone in their hearts. In the camps at the edge of the battlefield, alien soldiers whispered around dim fires. Their armor was dented, their weapons heavy in their hands, but their minds carried something heavier: fear. One soldier spat into the dirt, shaking his head. I saw one of them take a plasma round straight through his chest. He fell, but then he stood up again. He tied his wound with a strip of cloth, picked up his rifle, and kept moving forward. "Who does that? Who fights like that?" Another soldier shivered, his 4 eyes wide. "They don't even shout. They don't scream like we do. They move in silence, their eyes cold, like the battle is nothing more than another day. They look at us as if we are already dead." A third leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Do you know what the humans call these ones? Regulars, just soldiers. Nothing special. If these are the ones they send by the thousands, what horrors do their special forces bring?" The fire crackled. No one spoke after that. Fear choked. The air heavier than the smoke. Far above the battlefield, an alien warship drifted in orbit. Its captain stared at the reports flashing across his screen. Human forces had taken the western ridge. They had held the bridge against impossible odds, and now they were advancing again, step by step, never stopping. The captain muttered softly, almost to himself. "They fight as if they do not care for death. They fight as if death itself fears them." His second officer swallowed nervously. "Sir, if this is their normal infantry, what are their elites like?" The captain turned his eyes to the dark void outside the viewport. He had no answer. Back on the front lines, the truth grew louder than rumor. Entire alien squads broke rank at the sight of human soldiers advancing through smoke, their armor blackened, their faces dirty, their eyes unblinking. They looked less like men and more like shadows born from fire. The aliens fired plasma and artillery, but the humans kept moving. Step after step, their boots struck the ground, like drums of war. And when one fell, another stepped into his place, silent and steady. It was not madness. It was not chaos. It was discipline. Cold, merciless discipline that turned ordinary men into legends. In the council chambers once again, the feathered admiral slammed her wing against the table. "We cannot keep fighting them like this. Our soldiers break before they even clash. Their courage is shattered by fear before the battle begins." An insectoid general clicked his mandibles nervously. "Then what choice do we have? If this is how their regulars fight, then unleashing their special forces will be the end of us all." The reptilian commander leaned forward, his voice dropping into a whisper that made every spine in the room stiffen. "I heard a rumor," he said. "A single human special forces unit can erase entire cities overnight. They do not march. They do not fight in daylight. They appear in silence, and when the sun rises, only ashes remain." No one laughed this time, The air grew heavier, and every leader in that room felt the same thought in their chest. If the galaxy already feared the regulars, what hope did they have against the demons humanity kept in reserve? In the camps, in the trenches, in the warships above, the same words echoed in every whisper, every frightened breath. These are not even their best. The arrival, the war-torn planet of Vareth, was burning. Smoke rose from broken cities, and the sky glowed red with the fire of orbital strikes. Alien soldiers, battered and exhausted, dug themselves into the ruins of an abandoned fortress. Their commanders whispered orders, but fear lived in their eyes. They had heard the rumors. The humans were coming. Not the special forces of myth and shadow. Not the silent ghosts said to erase entire cities in the night. No, this time, only the regulars were landing. Ordinary soldiers. And yet, the galaxy already feared them more than any nightmare. The ground shook with the sound of engines. From the clouds above, a massive transport ship descended, its dark metal frame scarred but unbroken. Its engines roared like thunder, dust blasting across the ruins as it landed. Alien soldiers raised their weapons, trembling. Some expected monsters to emerge, giants with glowing armor, beasts bred only for killing. Others whispered that maybe the rumors were lies, that humans were not as terrifying as the stories claimed. The ship's ramp opened. And then they saw them. Humans stepped out one by one. They wore no glowing armor, no alien energy shields. Their gear was simple: dark uniforms, helmets, rifles strapped across their chests. Their boots struck the ground in steady rhythm, each step echoing like a drumbeat of war. At first glance, they looked ordinary, too ordinary. Their frames were smaller than most alien warriors. Their skin varied in shades, their faces bare, their eyes sharp but quiet. No alien would have called them terrifying by appearance alone. And yet, something was wrong. The air grew heavier around them. They did not look around with fear. They did not hesitate. Their eyes stayed forward, calm and cold, as if the battlefield itself meant nothing. They moved in formation, precise and disciplined, every soldier fitting perfectly into place. One alien soldier whispered, his voice breaking, They don't look like killers." Another hissed back, shaking his head. "Then why do they feel like death?" At the front of the formation walked a human officer. His uniform was as plain as the rest, but his presence was heavier, sharper. He lifted his hand, and instantly the entire line of humans froze in silence. No words, no delay, just perfect obedience. The alien commander watching from the fortress clenched his claws nervously. His voice cracked as he muttered to his second, "This is not the special forces. This is not even their best, and yet they march as if they already own the battlefield." The second officer swallowed hard. "Sir, if these are the regulars, I do not wish to see the elites." The humans moved forward, spreading across the ruins. Their boots crushed stone and ash, their rifles steady in their hands. They did not shout. They did not chant. Their silence was louder than war drums. Alien soldiers trembled in their trenches. Plasma rifles shook in their claws. Their commanders barked orders to steady them, but the fear would not leave. They had seen armies before. They had fought wars before. But never had they faced soldiers who marched without fear, without hesitation, without weakness. One alien whispered, clutching his weapon tight, "I would rather face a beast than a human. Beasts fight for hunger, these men fight for something else." "What?" Another hissed. The first soldier swallowed, his eyes wide. "For victory, nothing else." The human officer raised his hand. Again. The soldiers froze, their formation sharp as blades. The officer's voice was calm, steady, and terrifyingly simple. "Advance." And they did. The humans moved as one, sweeping through the ruins with mechanical precision. No wasted step, no wasted glance. Their rifles moved in unison, covering every angle. Their boots hit the ground in perfect rhythm, the sound echoing through the fortress walls. The aliens fired first. Plasma bolts lit the air, striking rubble, sending sparks flying. A few hit human soldiers. Men fell, their uniforms burned, their blood spilling onto the ash dot, but the line did not break dot. The humans stepped over the fallen, their formation shifting smoothly, never halting, never panicking. Their rifles answered in thunder, sharp cracks that echoed like the wrath of gods. Alien soldiers screamed as bullets tore through their cover, their armor useless against the relentless fire. The aliens had numbers. They had weapons, but the humans had something more. Discipline carved into their very bones. Inside the fortress, the alien commander staggered back from the viewport. His voice shook as he shouted to his staff. They are not normal soldiers. They cannot be. No species fights like this. But the young officer at his side whispered the truth none wanted to hear. They are regulars, sir, just regulars. As the battle raged outside, one alien soldier crawled through the dirt, desperate to escape. He looked back once, just once, at the line of advancing humans. Their helmets glinted in the firelight, their eyes hidden, their movements silent. And in that moment he understood why the galaxy feared them. They were not fighting for glory. They were not fighting for pride. They were fighting because it was what they did best. By nightfall, the fortress was surrounded. Human regulars moved like shadows, their rifles ready, their eyes unblinking. Alien soldiers huddled together, fear drowning their courage. And in the silence of the night, one question passed from mouth to mouth, spreading like poison. If the regulars are like this, then what kind of demons are their special forces? First contact. Dawn broke over Vareth with a sickly red light. Smoke from ruined cities still covered the horizon, and the air carried the stench of ash and blood. Alien soldiers crouched low in their trenches, plasma rifles tight in their hands. Their commanders shouted orders, but their voices were drowned by the pounding of human boots. The regulars were advancing. Step by step, line by line. The humans moved through the smoke. Their helmets glinted faintly in the morning light. Their rifles raised, their eyes hidden behind cold visors. They did not shout. They did not chant. They moved in silence, and that silence was worse than any war cry. One alien soldier trembled so hard, his rifle shook. They don't even scream, he whispered. Not even when the shells fall. And as if to answer him, the ground shook with a deafening blast. Alien artillery fired from hidden emplacements, plasma shells slamming into the human line. Dust and fire exploded, throwing bodies into the air. For a moment, the trenches erupted in cheers. They're broken, a commander shouted. The humans are finished. But when the dust cleared, the humans were still there. Their formation had shifted, smooth and precise. Soldiers stepped into the places of the fallen without a word, rifles steady. They kept advancing, their boots striking the ground in rhythm, their silence cutting deeper. Then any scream. An alien soldier dropped his weapon, shaking his head in disbelief. No one survives that. No one keeps moving after that. Yet the humans did. The aliens opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts lit up the air, sizzling through the smoke. Human soldiers fell, scorched and burned, but the line did not break. Their rifles cracked in reply, short bursts of thunder that tore through alien cover. A squad of humans rushed forward, sliding into rubble with fluid movement. They fired in perfect unison, each shot precise, each step measured. Aliens screamed as their lines buckled, their trenches filling with fear. A reptilian officer shouted desperately, "Hold! Hold the line! They are only men." But even he felt the truth settling in his chest. These were not just men, they were something else. On the ridge above, the alien commander watched with growing horror. His claws dug into the stone as he saw his soldiers break under the steady human advance. He had faced many enemies before, beasts, machines, even rogue mercenaries, but never this. "They fight like machines," he muttered. "But they bleed like us. Why do they not fall back?" His second officer swallowed hard, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Because, sir, they don't know how." Back in the trenches, the aliens tried to regroup. A group of heavy gunners set up a plasma cannon, its barrel glowing hot. They fired a storm of energy, burning holes into the ground, sending dirt and smoke flying. The humans responded without panic. Two broke off, crawling low through the rubble. Plasma bolts hissed over their heads, but they kept moving, their faces set with cold determination. They reached the cannon crew in silence. One human rolled a small object forward, a grenade. The blast shook the trench, scattering alien bodies into the air. The humans stepped out of the smoke, rifles raised, and continued their advance. Every alien soldier felt it then. The fear was not in the humans' weapons. It was not in their size or strength. It was in their will. They simply did not stop. One alien dropped his rifle, screaming, "They aren't even elites, these are just the regulars." His words spread like poison, breaking the last threads of courage in the trench. Some fled, others froze, and a few fired wildly, their shots missing in panic. Callan, the human officer at the front, raised his hand. His soldiers froze instantly, rifles aimed at the broken alien lines. His voice was calm, steady, terrifyingly simple. Forward, and the line moved again. The aliens scattered before them. Some surrendered, dropping their weapons with shaking hands. Others ran, their courage shattered by silence and discipline. The battlefield became a graveyard, filled with smoke, dust, and the steady rhythm of human boots. From orbit, the alien high command received the reports. Their generals shouted in disbelief, their voices cracking with fear. How? How can ordinary infantry break our divisions? But deep inside, they knew the truth. Human regulars were not like theirs. Where alien soldiers relied on strength, on tradition, on pride, humans relied on something colder. Endurance, unity, the refusal to surrender. And if this was how their regulars fought, then the special forces would be something far worse. By dusk, the battlefield was silent. The alien trenches were abandoned, their flags torn down, their weapons scattered. The humans stood tall among the ruins, their uniforms burned and bloodied, their faces hidden, their silence unbroken. Whispers spread across the galaxy that night. Not of fleets, not of weapons, but of human soldiers who fought without fear. And always the same question followed. If the regulars are this terrifying, then what demons wait in the shadows of their special forces? Special Forces Unleashed. Night fell on Vareth. The battlefield was silent except for the faint crackle of fires burning through the ruins. Alien soldiers huddled together in shattered buildings, their nerves broken from the day's battle. They had seen the human regulars march through plasma and fire as if it were nothing. They had seen trenches overrun and commanders cut down. But now in the darkness another kind of fear crept into their bones. Whispers spread in every corner. They say this is only the beginning. They say the humans have more, worse than this. They call them Special Forces. The very name made even hardened warriors shiver. If the regulars were unstoppable in daylight, then what shadows moved with the night? On the far ridge, the alien command bunker buzzed with panic. Generals shouted into comms, demanding reinforcements, demanding explanations. One reptilian commander slammed his fist against the table, his voice breaking. "We lost entire battalions to their regulars. Do you understand what that means? If their elites arrive, it will be slaughter." Another officer, younger but more fearful, whispered what no one wanted to say. "Reports say they've already landed." The room froze. It began quietly. Alien scouts went missing. Patrols sent into the ruins never returned. Entire outposts stopped answering comms. At first, commanders thought it was a communications failure, but then they found the bodies. An entire squad of soldiers lying silently in their trench. No screams, no signs of a fight. Their throats cut clean, their weapons untouched. Another camp was found burning, but no alarms had been raised. No shots fired. Just fire and ashes and the smell of blood in the air. One alien soldier muttered, his voice shaking as he stared at the reports. The regulars march in daylight. The elites, they kill in silence. Near midnight, the fortress on Vareth's eastern ridge shook with sudden chaos. Alarms screamed as the outer walls exploded in flame. Alien soldiers scrambled, firing wildly into the darkness, but they saw nothing. No enemy lines, No advancing. Boots. Just shadows moving between the flames. One soldier spotted a flicker of motion. He shouted and raised his weapon, only for a blade to slash across his chest. A human silhouette slipped past him, vanishing back into the smoke. Another soldier fired blindly, screaming. His shots lit up the ruins for a moment, revealing figures, small squads of humans, black-clad, faces hidden, rifles and knives gleaming. And then the figures were gone, melting back into the dark. The fortress commander roared, "They are here, the special forces!" Panic spread like fire. Explosions rocked supply depots. Communications towers fell silent one by one. Alien soldiers ran through the halls, only to find their officers already dead, throats slit, their bodies slumped over command tables. It was not war. It was execution. One terrified alien crouched in the dark, clutching his weapon. His four eyes darted everywhere, searching for enemies he could not see. Then a whisper reached his ears, soft and cold, in human tongue. Too slow. A hand dragged him into the shadows. He was never seen again. In the alien warship above Vareth, the fleet admiral received fragmented messages, reports of entire positions gone silent, camps burning without warning, soldiers missing, commanders dead. His mandibles clicked nervously as he whispered, "They don't attack like soldiers. They hunt like predators." His second officer's voice trembled. "If their regulars broke our armies in daylight, and their elites erase us at night, then we cannot win. We cannot fight them." The admiral stared out the viewport, watching fires spread across the planet below. He had no answer. Back on the ground, survivors from the eastern ridge stumbled into the main fortress by dawn. Their armor was scorched, their weapons gone, their eyes wide with terror. The fortress commander grabbed one by the shoulders, shouting, "What happened?" "Where are the others?" The soldier's voice cracked, his hands trembling. "They came from nowhere. They killed without sound. We never saw their faces. They were already gone before we fired a shot." The commander froze. His claws trembled as he whispered the words every alien feared. The special forces. By morning, the battlefield was quiet again. Too quiet. The humans had vanished, leaving behind nothing but ruins and silence. Alien scouts searched desperately but found no tracks, no signs of retreat. Only the dead. The fortress commander stood at the walls, his soldiers broken around him. His voice was heavy with dread. If these are the ones they call special forces, then humanity is not just an enemy. Humanity is a nightmare. And in the smoke-filled silence of dawn, a new fear spread across the galaxy. If humanity's regulars could break armies, and their elites could erase entire cities without warning, then what else were they hiding? The fear spreads. The war for Vareth was no longer a battle. It had become a legend whispered in every corner of the galaxy. The fortress cities lay in ruins. Alien generals had vanished in the night. Outposts that once stood strong were nothing more than smoking craters at dawn. And everywhere whispers grew louder. Humans broke armies with their regulars. And their special forces erased whole divisions without a sound. Fear moved. Faster than fleets. In the Galactic Council chambers, tension hung like a storm. Leaders from dozens of species argued, their voices sharp and desperate. Maps flickered across the table, red lines of human advance spreading wider every day. One insectoid general slammed his claw into the hologram. "You don't understand. We cannot fight them. Their soldiers fight like machines. Their elites kill like ghosts. Our men refuse to even step onto the battlefield now." A scaled admiral hissed back, his frill rising in anger. "You exaggerate. Every army can be broken." But another voice cut him off. A nervous young commander whose hands trembled as he spoke. "I saw them. With my own eyes. We fired until our rifles melted. But they did not stop. The regulars walked through fire. And when night came, the elites slipped into our camps. By morning, nothing was left. Nothing. The chamber fell silent. On the front lines of other worlds, alien soldiers refused to march. Entire battalions mutinied, throwing down their weapons. They whispered the same words, over and over, words that chilled the hearts of their commanders. Humans are coming. Not the fleets, not the tanks, the soldiers. We cannot face them. Some soldiers fled to the outer colonies. Others begged for surrender before the humans had even arrived. The war was breaking not because of battles, but because of fear. In the great academies where young aliens once trained proudly for war, the halls stood empty. Cadets whispered of Vareth, of humans who advanced without fear, who never surrendered, who destroyed without mercy. Some dropped out of training, choosing exile over war. One teacher tried to steady her class, her voice firm. Fear is weakness. Humans are only flesh and blood, they can be killed. But one cadet shook his head, his voice breaking. Not the way they fight. They don't stop. They don't care about wounds or death. They keep moving until the enemy is gone. If those are their regulars, then their elites are something beyond soldiers. No one argued after that. Even alien civilians felt the terror. In marketplaces and homes, the rumors spread like fire. Mothers pulled their children close at night, whispering stories of human shadows that slipped through walls. Traders told tales of entire fleets vanishing after a single encounter with human forces. Some refused to believe it. No army is unstoppable, they said. But then the survivors came. Broken soldiers, eyes wide with trauma, voices low and shaking. They carried no weapons, only fear. One survivor muttered to a crowded hall, his words barely above a whisper. They don't march for pride, they don't march for glory. They march because it is their nature. They fight until nothing remains. And the special forces, he shuddered. The special forces don't even let you hear them coming. The crowd went silent. In the private war council of the Galactic Fleet, one elder general spoke what no one wanted to admit. His voice was tired but steady. We called humans weak once. We mocked their small size, their fragile skin, their short lives. But now, their weakness is our nightmare, because they fight as if every day might be their last. Another general whispered, horrified. Then what chance do we have when their elites move unseen? If their regulars are enough to break armies and their special forces can erase entire cities, what more are they hiding? No one answered. On a distant human warship, Callan, the officer who had marched with the regulars, stood silent as reports came in. Alien worlds were collapsing without a single shot fired. Armies surrendered before the first battle. Fear had already won the war. A younger human soldier asked him quietly, "Do you think they'll ever stop underestimating us?" Callan's eyes narrowed, his voice calm but heavy. "No, they'll stop when they finally understand. And by then, it will be too late." By now, the galaxy no longer mocked humanity. They no longer saw them as fragile. They saw them as shadows, creeping across the stars, relentless and unbreakable. And in every council, every war room, and every soldier's heart, the same thought echoed again and again. If this is what humanity shows us now, what horrors are still waiting in the dark? The turning point. The world of Vareth was not the only battlefield. Across the stars, human fleets pressed forward, each step planned, each move deliberate. The aliens had believed humanity would burn itself out, that their strength was only rumor. But every day the reports grew darker, heavier, impossible to ignore. And then came the day of the strike, the moment the galaxy would never forget. On the planet's scarred plains, alien armies gathered in desperation. Massive tanks rolled across the dirt, their cannons glowing with plasma. Siegewalkers thundered forward, each step shaking the ground. Entire divisions of alien soldiers filled the trenches, their weapons charged, their commanders screaming for courage. They had one mission: stop the humans here, or lose the war forever. From the ridge above, the alien commander raised his claw, his voice sharp. "This is our last stand. Break the humans here, and we will save our worlds." The soldiers roared, but their eyes betrayed their fear. They had heard the stories. They had seen what regular humans could do. And now, The humans were coming again. The first sound was boots. Step by step, steady, unbroken. Human regulars emerged through the smoke, their dark uniforms smeared with ash and blood. Their rifles gleamed faintly in the light, their formation perfect, their silence unshaken. The alien trenches erupted in fire. Plasma bolts scorched the air. Artillery shells exploded across the plains. Human soldiers fell, burned and broken, but the line did not falter. New soldiers stepped into the gaps, rifles raised, their rhythm unbroken. One alien soldier shouted desperately, "They don't stop. They don't break. They just keep coming." And still, the humans advanced. Then, from the sky. Dropships screamed through the clouds. They cut through anti-air fire, descending fast, metal doors slamming open before they even touched the ground. Small teams of humans leapt out, dressed in black, moving like shadows even in daylight. Their weapons were different, compact, silent, precise. The special forces had arrived. They hit the flanks first. Explosions tore through alien supply lines. Ammunition depots vanished in bursts of fire. Command tents collapsed as officers were cut down before they could even give orders. The aliens panicked, spinning their cannons, firing wildly into smoke and shadow. But the special forces were never there when the shots landed. They struck fast, vanished faster, leaving only destruction behind. One alien general screamed into his comms, "They're everywhere. They're ghosts. We can't track them." Meanwhile, on the front lines, the regulars pushed harder. Their rifles roared in unison, cutting through trenches, tearing apart defenses. Every step was measured, every shot deliberate. They moved like one body, unbroken by fear. Alien soldiers fired until their weapons overheated, but it wasn't enough. They watched their comrades fall one after another, and still the humans advanced. A reptilian officer cried out, his voice full of despair. "If their regulars crush us head-on, and their elites tear us apart from behind, what chance do we have?" The turning point came at dusk. The alien army had held for hours, their tanks firing, their walkers crushing stone. But then, one by one, their war machines fell silent. Explosives planted by special forces ripped into engines. Walkers toppled like mountains, collapsing. Tanks burst into flame, their crews screaming inside. Alien commanders tried to regroup, but their voices were silenced by single shots. Snipers hidden in the ruins, unseen, uncatchable. The battlefield became chaos. Soldiers ran, weapons dropped, courage shattered. And through it all, the humans kept moving. Regulars smashed through the front lines. Special forces cut off the retreat. The aliens were trapped, surrounded, broken. From a hill above, Callan, the human officer, raised his hand. His soldiers froze instantly, rifles steady. His voice was calm, unshaken. "Advance! End it!" The regulars stormed forward. Special forces melted from the shadows, striking the last defenses. Within minutes, the alien army collapsed. Those who did not die surrendered, dropping their weapons and falling to their knees. The battlefield, once filled with fire and thunder, fell silent except for the steady sound of human boots. High above, in the Galactic Council's fleet, admirals watched the reports with horror. Their voices broke with disbelief. "They destroyed everything, in one strike." Another whispered. "Regulars crushed the front. Special forces erased the command. We are not fighting an army, we are facing extinction." On the ground, as the smoke cleared, alien survivors huddled together, their eyes wide with terror. One soldier whispered the words that would echo across the galaxy. If these were only soldiers and special forces, then what nightmares still hide behind them? Respect in shadows, the battlefield of Vareth was silent. Smoke drifted across broken tanks, shattered walkers, and trenches filled with weapons left behind. The ground, once trembling with the roar of alien cannons, now carried only the steady sound of human boots. The war was over. Human regulars stood guard among the ruins, their uniforms burned and torn, their faces hidden but their formation still sharp as a blade. Nearby, the special forces had already vanished into the shadows, leaving no trace except the destruction they had carved into the enemy's heart. Alien survivors knelt in the dirt, their weapons discarded, their eyes empty. They had not just lost the battle. They had lost the will to fight. Far above, the Galactic Council gathered once more. Their chambers glowed with the pale light of the stars, but the voices inside were dark with fear. One admiral whispered, his wings trembling. They did it. An entire army destroyed in a single day. A reptilian general slammed his claws against the table, his voice breaking. Not with fleets, not with superweapons, just soldiers, just men and women who refused to stop. Another voice cut in low and grim. And those were only their regulars. Silence swept across the chamber. Every leader felt the same chill crawl into their bones. On Vareth, Callan stood at the center of the ruined fortress, his uniform torn, his arms bruised, but his eyes calm. Around him, human soldiers moved with quiet discipline, securing the Giu. Last of the battlefield. An alien commander, wounded but alive, was dragged before him. The alien's frill shook with fear, his claws stained with ash. He stared at Callan, his voice trembling. You are not soldiers. You are death itself. Callan looked down at him, his face expressionless. His answer was quiet, but it carried like thunder. No, we're human. And this is what it means when we fight. The alien lowered his gaze. For the first time there was no insult, no mockery, only respect. That respect spread like fire. In alien marketplaces, whispers replaced old jokes. No longer did they laugh about fragile humans. Now they spoke in hushed tones of armies that marched through fire, of shadows that killed in silence. In military academies, cadets asked their teachers how to fight against humans. The teachers had no answer. Some resigned, unable to face the question. In distant colonies, entire councils debated surrender before humans had even reached their skies. Fear had replaced pride. But fear was only part of it. Respect was growing too. Some alien leaders, bitter but honest, admitted the truth aloud. Humanity is not strong because of size, not strong because of weapons. They are strong because they endure, because they adapt, because they never stop. Others went further, warning their people. If the galaxy cannot live with them, then we will be forced to kneel before them. On the human flagship orbiting Vareth, Callan stood at the viewport, staring down at the planet. Behind him, younger soldiers whispered among themselves. Do you think they'll still call us weak? One asked. Another shook his head, eyes still wide from the battle. No, not anymore. Not after this. Callan did not speak. His gaze stayed, fixed on the burning world below. He knew what the soldiers didn't. This was not the end, this was only the beginning. Humanity had shown the galaxy just a fraction of its strength. The regulars had crushed armies. The special forces had erased entire strongholds. But humanity's true potential still remained in the shadows. And the galaxy would never sleep easy again. Weeks later, the first reports spread. Rumors carried faster than ships. They feared the regulars. They fled from the elites. And yet, humanity has armies we have not even seen. The whispers grew until they became truth in the minds of billions. The galaxy no longer mocked Earth. The galaxy no longer laughed at fragile humans. Now, they wondered in dread. If this was only the beginning, what monsters still waited behind the curtain? The council chambers across the stars echoed with the same words, repeated by generals, admirals, and terrified soldiers alike. Respect the humans. Fear them if you must. But never ever underestimate them again. And in the shadows of the galaxy, humanity stood tall. Not as the weakest, not as the smallest, but as the nightmare that even empires feared to speak of. For the first time in history, the galaxy did not ask if humans could survive. It asked only one question. How far will they go?